We are live. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It is the Locker Room. Got Wade Smith coming through in a little bit. We'll get to some of the comments. Just got back from a little sneak peek. There are no uniforms out, and it's a very big process. It's going to be faster than most of them are, but we won't see new uniforms next year, but we'll probably see maybe some merch here or there, including this hat that I got that I'm wearing right here. Just a little snippet. But as far as like actual uniforms, haven't seen them because they don't exist. It's like a whole process. But you should be very excited about a lot of things that they got going on in the business department. It's gonna be a lot more freshened up. You're not gonna have the typical, just the damn bull on the hat. Like, you can't wear that to a club. You can't wear that big ass bull logo to the club. Like, that doesn't look good. But it's going to be better. Maybe there'll be some colors like this. That's what's up. Streak says, love the show. Found you after the Texans win over the Colts. Very nice. Subscribe and like. We got to subscribe and like. And keep the love going. Wade Smith going to be in. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Sean Payton situation, which is where I want to start. I don't know the specifics on the jerseys. Like, we haven't seen them. I just know that they could come, and they could come maybe like next season, 2024. Expect a little bit of this color, expect a little bit of this color. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just wearing a hat. That's all I'm doing. And that's all I really got on that. On the unis. I wish I could tell you more. There's it's an exciting time on that area. I will say they're on their crap. In the marketing department, they're on their crap. I will say that. I think, from the game day experience to the gear, that squad is on their crap. Now, they need the on-field product to not be crap, and that would probably help them out. But they're on it. And if the football side of things can catch up, and this could be the year that maybe it does, that would happen. I don't anticipate. I keep hearing people say, the whole Oiler blue, they're not going to have Oilers uniforms. So that's the one thing I can say is they're not going to have that. I can't read that. It says, Landry, who's your dream candidate? Shout out to you. My dream candidate is not Sean Payton. And I'm surprised by how many people act like that's just an outlandish thing to say, that it's not Sean Payton or bust at this point. I wouldn't throw a fit if Sean Payton ended up as the Texans coach. He brings instant credibility. There could be a quick turnaround. I think season ticket sales immediately increase, and there could be a buzz. I just don't think Sean Payton's a good fit. I would rather find the next Sean Payton, just like the Saints did in the early 2000s. I would rather do that than go to a guy who's 59 years old, who has only had success with one quarterback, and who, whenever things got tough in New Orleans, you can say he was stressed, you can say whatever, but whenever stuff got tough in New Orleans, by the way, he had a big hand in that cap situation. He left for a year. He left. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit hesitant there. Given the attention and given the ride and die mentality that's going to have to be here. Now, does that mean that D'Amico Ryans or Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen or Mike Kafka are going to be better than Sean Payton? No. But I would rather have either one of those guys. He's probably fifth on my list. But we also got to keep in mind it's a badass list. You know, it's not like I'm saying I would rather have Hines Ward over Sean Payton. I think they've done a good job of putting together a really good list. I talked to Lopez about it today, and Smitty's going to come through in a sec. But I was talking to Lopez about it, and he lays out a good case. First of all, I think you can look at it a number of ways with Nick Caserio. And those of you just coming through, subscribe, like. You're in the locker room, Landry Locker, at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram. I don't dislike Sean Payton, but I damn sure am not giving up draft equity for Sean Payton. Not a lot. And I don't think you're going to have to give up that much. This isn't John Gruden, the trade that people keep pointing to. John Gruden was 29 years old. He had just gone to an AFC championship game with the Raiders. He was 29. Sean Payton's 59 years old and walked away for a year. Like, did you get max value for Deshaun Watson when he could pick his destination? No, you didn't. And that's what Sean Payton's doing right now. So this talk about McClain said multiple first round. I should have tackled his ass when I just saw him a minute ago. I don't know. I should have tackled his ass for that. But multiple first round picks, I don't even think you should have to give up one first round pick for Sean Payton. And Lopez was throwing out the whole analogy of, well, would you trade Kenyon Green for Sean Payton? Like using it like an example of a disappointing rookie. Would you trade it? And I said, hell, you know what? I would trade Ryan Leaf for him. So why don't we just trade pick 2 if we're going to play that stupid ass game? And what the hell does that mean? Would you trade? Like, are we just going to name crappy draft pick? Well, I wouldn't trade a 6th either because I don't want to trade Tom Brady. The hell is that? Let's bring in Wade Smith. He's already laughing. Smitty, what are we talking about here when we start throwing out like, well, would you trade Kenyon Green for him? Just say if you would trade pick 12 or not. Don't be playing this example game with me.
Hey man, you gotta let Lopez be Lopez, man. He has his little examples and stuff he likes to throw out there, and you know that is what it is. But I tell you what, man, the idea of Sean Payton, man, I really like him as a coach. I don't love him as a coach, but I really like him as a coach. I know what he brings, his credibility, and I know that he can turn around a program. I don't like the idea of giving up compensation for a coach, just in general, especially what you had to give up to get that compensation, everything that the organization went through to get these extra picks. And I could understand somebody's line of reason and say, well, okay, you got these picks, you got to use them for something, which I get. But there's so many really good candidates out there that you don't have to give up anything to get them. All it is, hey, you come into an agreement and say, I want to lead your program. Like there's a handful of guys that there's a couple that I kind of stand on the table for, and there's the rest of them. I'm just like, yeah, I like the direction that you're going in. So the idea of giving up something to get Sean Payton, it's like I don't think it outweighs some of the other options that are on there. And I think that's the thing that when people are talking about this, you have to understand you have to, put it up in a vacuum to where this is the only option. It's like either give up these draft picks and get Sean Payton, or you don't get a coach. Like,
and I don't think you even have to give up the draft picks. Even then, I would still, it might say more about the list than it does Sean Payton. Like if I want to find the next Sean Payton, I want to find that guy that's going to turn around your program and ride and die. I don't want to find the guy who's trying to use leverage to figure out a situation. I just don't, and I don't know what he is without Drew Brees. I know he had the big hand in developing Drew Brees, so I get that. I'm not taking away anything that he did with him. I just never saw him without him. I saw him 1 year without him. It was 9-8. You know who else went 9-8? Nick Sirianni. You know who else went 9-8 this year? Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable. Like there's first year coaches who can go 9-8 and they can get the most of it. So that's my whole thing. Like it brings credibility and stuff, but I don't look at Sean Payton and say, okay, this is a great fit for a number of reasons. Now, am I going to sit here and throw stuff if they hire Sean Payton? No, like that's not like a terrible hire, but I don't get it as like a fit standpoint with where they're at. I just don't get it.
No, I don't think anyone that hired Sean Payton as a coach, anyone with any sense would be like, that's a terrible hire. He's a damn good coach. like straight up and down. He can coach at a very high level. He's done it, for a very long time. He's going to come in and know what he wants to do. He's going to be able to give the organization direction from that standpoint. So, only thing I worry about with Sean Payton, besides the draft compensation, is Sean Payton is going to want his quarterback, whoever that quarterback is. And there's some veteran quarterbacks that are going to be available that kind of scare me that I think he might want to look at it, bring it in, and they're not Bryce Young. Like, they got that whole Jimmy G connection of them going to the same college and stuff. And he's most likely going to be, 99% he's going to be available by San Francisco. Jimmy G scares me. I've seen Jimmy G play at the highest in the biggest moments, and he's not the guy you wanted at quarterback in the biggest moments. And when you got Sean Payton as your coach, you're expecting to get to, those biggest moments. So that worries me. And is it something to where maybe he wants a guy like Derek Carr, a veteran guy? Because when he first got to New Orleans, he got there, and 2 months later they signed Drew Brees as their quarterback, and he was I think it was like his fourth or fifth year in the league at the time when he came into to New Orleans. So he had a known commodity. That might be the direction it goes, and I don't know if that's. I think I'd be okay with it, but I know that there's other options that I would much rather see take place as opposed to going with the Sean Payton route.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into those other guys. That's the whole point. The first 8. You see that logo I had? Instead of first 48, first 8.
Yeah,
creative right there, if I do say so myself. Mitchell says, "Bro, you were on the McCown train." Let me correct you. I wasn't on the McCown train. I was driving the McCown train. So don't tell me I was on a train. I was driving that train. That's a different situation, though, and I think it's about situations like. When I'm down with Josh McCown, and this is the example I'll use, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not. I do not think my dog's not down with that either, but I would not think that I would not if I were the Dallas Cowboys, I wouldn't hire Josh McCown. If I were the Los Angeles Chargers, I wouldn't hire Josh McCown, but I damn sure would hire Sean Payton. If we were talking about the 2019 Houston Texans, yeah, I would want Sean Payton. In that situation, that type of ball club, yes, 100%, because you have a Super Bowl window right there and you can go for it. So I would be all in on Sean Payton. It's about situations. It's about where you're at as an organization. And I think we've learned that the last 2 years with guys being one and done and maybe making sense, or at least moderate sense at the time, and then not making sense as stuff starts to clear up and you progress. So yes, the McCown train for what the Texans were last year, yes, I was down with it. But this year, I'm not saying that because you see the candidates that they're talking about.
Landry, I'm still confused about how you was riding with McCown like that, with all the craziness that went on leading up to that, and then you're gonna triple down on.
No. As soon as the Flores lawsuit came out, I said they can't do this. No. I was up there. I was up till that, and I jumped off that mofo.
But what I'm saying is, even you ever being on it, like the Texans had did so many things that were quote unquote unconventional leading up to that. The flat organizational structure and Bill O'Brien being the GM and Easter being his role and all that type of stuff and trading all the stuff that led us to where we are now. To triple down on that with McCown, I thought you. And I still think he was crazy now, but it's all.
Might have been.
Everybody has their opinions, but
it was also a 6-year. It was also a 6-year love fest. I said it in Cleveland when it wasn't like something that it's not like they brought it up. I'd been bringing it up myself. I said there's receipts. I said I like Josh McCown as a future coach. Or in 2018, I said they need to bring him in as a backup and make him a coach. So it's not like I just developed that fascination. I've been saying it for a long time. It was actually Hugh Jackson who, I was in the media scrum. He said, this guy's going to be a head coach. I started doing more research, talked to people that played with him and stuff like that, started listening to, and I became more infatuated with it. So it's not like, Jack, and it bothered me that it was an Easterby thing too, because you know how I feel about old POS, person of service, Jack Easterby. That bothered me. That hurt me, but I didn't want to completely bail on McCown because of the bad company.
I can appreciate that double entendre you got going there with the POS. That's
Person
the
of service.
first time I heard that, I was like, okay, Landry, you got you one there. I like that.
So Sean Payton, we've broken him down. This was the people's choice for a while. D'Amico Ryans was the guy that, as soon as it felt like there was going to be a new coach, D'Amico Ryans was the name that came up. He's still at the very top of my list. You know him better than me. Where does D'Amico Ryans rank on your list?
He's been number one on my list for a few years, 2 years now. I guess it's 2 years. Like before the Cully hire, I was on Sports Radio 610 talking about D'Amico Ryans as the guy. I think D'Amico
Arian said he sounds like a coach now. Arian said he doesn't even recognize him when he talks now. Arian was on Barstool and he was like, now D'Amico comes up and he's like, hey guys, how you doing? And he's like, it's weird how he talks now. He said his whole voice has completely changed.
Oh man.
Is that true?
The last time I talked to D'Amico, though, I can't remember the last time I talked to D'Amico, though. We might have been like in the neighborhood or something, and so it was normal. I didn't get that same vibe that Arian's talking about, but who knows? But he needs to sound like a coach, though. He needs to sound for presidential and a CEO of a company, because that's what he's going to be. But this is something that we knew back when we were teammates. When this is his third, fourth year in the league, and I come in and in 2010, and he's the leader of the team. And there's a lot of guys on that team that were older than him that had many more pelts on the wall, but Cap was Cap. You knew that this dude, he was going to be the leader of men, and he led the troops. And so all he's done is just continue to build upon it. And so, 2 years ago, I thought, hey, why can't we have our own Mike Tomlin here? Like you see what Mike Tomlin did in Pittsburgh. These guys had the same type of demeanor, the same type of presence. And I don't even know how good of a defensive coach Mike Tomlin is, because all I've ever known of him is being the head coach of the Steelers. But I know what type of defensive coach D'Amico is, because he's been a defensive coordinator for so long, and I saw how linebackers played when he first got to San Francisco. And so you couple that with the leader of men type of deal. I'm just, man, he's the guy, and that's not even bringing in all the other stuff that plays into it, as far as the fact that he was such a loved member of the organization when he was here. What he would do for you on the PR side of it. When you look at it, man, the Texans haven't had a lot of PR wins since JJ Watt and Harvey. Man,
I would say the last 3 days have been pretty good PR wins. I think this is the best PR they've had, just the list.
But do you realize that how bad it had to be for you to just put out some legitimate candidates and for people to get really excited about that?
Yeah.
Like, back to normalcy.
You're celebrating normal.
You're celebrating normal. And
yeah.
It's weird, but I'm glad it's finally here. We've gone through it to get here, but we're finally here, and he's available, and he's talking like he's ready to take that step. Like last year, he did an interview. I think an interview maybe
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, and then he took his name out that. He's like, he wasn't ready yet, which is respect. Like, if you feel like this is not the right situation, you're not ready, cool. Hopefully he feels differently about the Texans and being part of building this into something that we all want it to be.
Here is probably the biggest meathead, I would say, in the league. I think he's holding 2 water jugs to get hydrated or something when he's talking about it. But this is probably the defensive player of the year. Would you agree this year? Nick Bosa.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's up there. Here's him talking about D'Amico Ryans and what he's seen, just from where he was before to now.
Just the way he is as a coach and a leader is he's the best coach I've been around. I could say that, yeah. Pretty defensive coordinator for sure. I've had D-line coaches, but as a defensive coordinator, easily the best one I've been around.
What makes him so?
Just knowing the guys, knowing the team, obviously the scheme stuff, which I don't even deal with, but I just see I just see
The hell's
what
that
he
mean?
does every week in meetings and how he addresses the young guys and us as a defense, and how hard he is on us, but how much he congratulates us and is positive at the same time. I think he just has really figured out how to perfectly push us, but not push us too hard and not give us too much credit. Just really good.
Kind of thread the needle.
Exactly, yeah. And it seems simple, but it's really not. He's gotten better at it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has it always been?
No, I think he's getting better, just like us as a defense.
See that now? That's interesting. And I mean, that's you hear a player say, "Nah, he's awesome." But sometimes if someone's just giving someone a compliment and they say, "No, he's always been this. I've always seen it." But when you hear an actual player say, he's gotten better at it, and this wasn't, he's not throwing him under the bus. He's just saying he's gotten even better. That's encouraging to me as someone who has D'Amico Ryans at the top of his list.
Yeah, I mean, and what he's talking about there is just being able to hold guys accountable, hold them accountable, and making sure that they do what they're supposed to do, and at the same time, when they do what they're supposed to do, showing them love. You see, you kind of saw it with Robert Saleh on the sidelines when he was the defensive coordinator there in San Francisco, where the energy that he brought on the sideline, the guys loved him. It's the same thing with D'Amico. I'm sure he saw that. That's how he was as a player, and he's just continuing to grow as a leader of men, as a leader of an entire locker room. That's what you would hope that he would do if he would come here. You're like, hey, this is the place, because he's going to be a head coach. It's my hope, and I think a lot of people would be happy with it.
It's gonna happen.
Game. The head coach, man. Listen,
what's
man.
it gonna? What do you say to people who say, "Well, I want an offensive guy. Obviously, we're gonna get a quarterback. I want an offensive guy and not a defensive guy," because I at least like the pipeline he's from. Where I don't think Mike LaFleur deserved to get fired. Like, I know some people might point to the Jets and say, "Look, there's a San Francisco defensive coordinator that tried to run that." Dude, he had Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. That seems like the fall guy of all fall guys. They also had the offensive rookie of the year when he got hurt, and then they had the offensive rookie of the year that's probably going to end up being that in Garrett Wilson. Like, that to me was like the ultimate fall guy. So that doesn't discourage me at all from, like, a Saleh understudy / Shanahan to try to run that system or bring someone younger to run it.
I understand the sentiment, and I think it's a logical way of looking at it. But when I look at, for one, that offense and how many different organizations in the league run that same offense, and the amount of guys that you can pull from, whether it's a quarterback coach from whatever team in the league, whoever the quarterback coach is, whoever the tight ends coach is for Shanahan or O'Connell, or for what's the coaching with the Bengals, like
Zach Taylor,
like any of those guys, McVay, there's so many of them around the league right now. Green Bay's coach, all of those coaches that are offensive head coaches that run that scheme, you have guys that are under their wings. That you see what Mike McDaniel was doing right now in Miami. Like that offensive scheme is such a plug and play, just roll the carpet out, and it's going to be an effective way of running offense. And so if you have an offense that is effective with a dominating defense, now you're competing for championships. I get the sentiment, but then I also look at it and say, well, Brian Daboll left Buffalo, and Buffalo's offense is still damn. It didn't fall off. You know what I mean? So
and San Francisco's defense didn't fall off when Saleh left. I mean, sometimes it just be like that.
Right. I just feel like I get the sentiment, but that should not keep you from getting the right guy. And if he's going to come in here and you're going to be able to interview him and say, yeah, this is the guy. And because he's a defensive coach or offensive coach or a special teams coach, whatever he might be, when you know it's the guy, you're going to know it's the guy.
Yeah.
Miko, he's going to get in front of multiple teams, if it comes to that, and they're going to be like, this is our guy, and he's going to have choices and options of where he wants to go. Hopefully that's here.
I actually think like some of the younger defensive guys are a little bit more open and innovative. Now, like Brandon Staley, he's an idiot. If they get fired on Saturday, then he deserves to be fired for some of the stuff he's done. But he hadn't interfered with the offense. Like it's not like he's like they hired a defensive guy and he like completely fell off. Like some of these new age defensive guys are innovative.
Coordinator,
huh?
Who is the Chargers offensive coordinator?
Their offensive coordinator. It was Shane Steichen in 2021. Is it
But don't look it up. That's my point. You don't know who it is, but the offense is still damn good. You got a quarterback, you're running.
Oh yeah, it's Joe Lombardi. The Texans wanted to interview him, remember?
Yeah,
Lombardi.
But that's what what my whole that, like,
your whole point is he's not interfering.
He's not interfering, and there's a lot of guys that could run those similar types of systems. And I think Miko, because he's been around that for damn near his entire career as a player and as a coach, that's what you would all in likelihood see here in Houston. It makes a lot.
That place is like a bloodbath, San Francisco, man. Like, and I don't know. I don't think Mike McDaniel's kind of like his different type of guy. But did you hear the stat that I gave about San Francisco on Monday? I know you listen because you tell me every time I say something stupid. But
that one, what'd you say,
bro? This is a mind-blowing thing, and I actually think there's some give or take here. Because San Francisco always seems to get beat up by injuries. And like a lot of times you say, well, you know, it's luck. But when you play that way, I think it's just a give or take thing. San Francisco is the first team in NFL history to where every team that played the next week lost the next week. Like you always hear like them talk about Alabama, and it's like, well, you don't want them to beat you twice. You know, like you don't want them to. Dude, every team that San Francisco played this year that played the next week lost.
That's probably the most amazing stat that I've heard. And as a player,
I wish I could credit who said it, but that's nuts.
As a player, that's like, yeah, that's what we do. Like when you're done playing us, you're gonna feel us.
See, I think of Trent Williams when I think of that, and that's Trent Williams' mindset, I'm sure.
That's Trent Williams. That's Bosa. That's Fred Warner. A lot of really good football players out there, and people will say, you know, DeMeco Ryans, he's got all these great football players. I looked at it on our lads maybe a few weeks ago, and I was like, man, they got like 3 or 4 first rounders between the defensive line and like one corner that stayed hurt his entire career pretty much. But everybody else is like 3rd and 4th round picks and undrafted guys. So like out of the 11 guys, there's 4 dudes that they invested highly in. And everybody else is just mid-round picks and undrafted free agents. So I think that narrative needs to be pushed to the side because most good defenses have that same thing. And the Texans have the draft capital and the money to go out and get better players. And they have really young players right now that you see a lot of promise in. And I would like to see what they look like in a DeMeco Ryans defense.
So we'll move on to Jonathan Gannon. And if you're new to this, subscribe and like, spread, whatever. It is the Locker Room, only source for daily Texans content. Let's move to Jonathan Gannon because this is starting to become my guy. And I'll explain why, because I think you're getting the best of both worlds with Jonathan Gannon. Initially, I looked at this and I kind of rolled my eyes because he interviewed last year too. But the more I think about it, I think he's going to put together the best staff. Like if you look at some of the guys that's being connected, I think he would bring Brian Johnson from Baytown here, who's the quarterback coach in Philadelphia, and he would be your offensive coordinator, and you would kind of promote him. He's done a great job with Hurts, along with Steichen. So you would have that. Your defensive coordinator is either going to be Mike Zimmer, or I could even see a situation where Brandon Staley gets it, because if the Chargers lose and he gets fired, he's probably going to be looking for a job, and him and Gannon know each other from the Chargers. Gannon also worked with Frank Ross in Indianapolis. I don't know any Texans fan who wants Frank Ross gone, unless they're crazy. They were top 5 this year in DVOA special teams. And there's even been talk about maybe Frank Reich, if Frank Reich doesn't get a job. Frank Reich coming and being like the assistant head coach type of guy and kind of just like, helping build a culture and stuff. I'm intrigued by Jonathan Gannon. I do know, and then, the first thing you hear, and it's fair. Philly stacked. They got the best team in the league, blah, blah. They got the talent, all that. But I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by the possibility of dipping into both sides of the ball at Philly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad with Jonathan Gannon at all. I think he's a young coach. Like you said, he has a lot of the connections that you would want to build an entire staff. I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about him to be strong one way or another on him. Everything is going to be based off of his connections and because like you said about the talent of that team, like the Philadelphia Eagles.
That offensive line's the best in the league. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean that I think that roster is probably the most talented roster.
It's unbelievable.
In the league. And so
what's the weakness?
The D-line is ridiculously deep. They're about 6 to 8 deep, where it's like, you know how you do those little things where you say, like, how many Texans would start on other teams around the league? Like, got like 7 D linemen that would start at 80% of the teams, right? They're deep. They're some of the best DB.
Bro, and they got the Saints first round pick this year too.
Yeah, they're gonna be good for a while. Shout out to the Eagles, man. That's what's up. Year 12. But I tell you what, Jonathan Gannon, I just like the fact that he's young. He has that look of that leader of men type. I haven't really heard him talk very much. I haven't heard like to listen to him to see like what
I'm gonna cut some tomorrow. I'm gonna get me a little Gannon action.
So I kind of get a grasp of what this guy is. Because some guys, when you hear him talk, you say to yourself, I don't know how this is going to play in the locker room. Other guys, you say, okay.
But they said that about Sirianni, too. So
Sirianni, his problem was in the press conference when he already had got hired. Now, I had come across Sirianni when I was in KC, and he was really, really young. But you could tell he was like one of those guys that was very serious about his craft. He was at that point, he was just a do boy. Like he was, and he was like I don't even know if he was an offense or a defensive assistant. I guess he was an offensive assistant because that's his deal now. But he was just low on the totem pole, but you could tell like he was on his stuff when it came to helping run the scout team and all that type. Because not everybody's on their stuff when it comes to doing that and taking that seriously and all that type of stuff. So, Jonathan Gannon, he's coming from a good tree. And I think that's important. There's trees that I would love to stay away from for reasons why. I think
Gerard Mayo's getting an extension in other news in New England. So there you go.
It sounds like they're trying to set him up to be the guy up there.
That's what I said. That was basically a Belichick in waiting announcement.
Yeah, and I ain't mad at that. Good for him, man. He was a hell of a player. I just, different philosophies, man. I just, go about it different ways. And I've seen it be successful in different ways, and it might be successful up there again if they can draft another Tom Brady. But till then, I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. Jonathan Gannon. Like I said, there's about 5 candidates that when I heard them, I said, okay, I got right.
Everyone.
But head and shoulders a couple candidates where I say to myself, if we get them, I'd be very excited about.
We're gonna get to Smitty's list. So Gannon and not bad. D'Amico seems to be at the top. Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator. Now there are other examples. By the way, Nick Sirianni. There are like multiple ways I think you can measure like if your organization is running good from like a on the field standpoint. Obviously, wins and losses is number 1. Number 2 is talent on the roster. And number 3 is interest in your coaching staff. Right. And Nick Sirianni immediately has interest in his coach. He really has. He checks all 3 boxes. But the fact that we're sitting here debating about 2 different coordinators, that doesn't happen all the time. That doesn't happen often. But Shane Steichen's interesting because we do have like an example of him working with someone else. He worked with Herbert his rookie year, best QB rating that Herbert has had. And then he's done a really good job with Jalen Hurts. I think that's even more impressive is that, I don't think Justin Herbert's going to fall off whoever his coordinator is. I think he's kind of coordinator proof at this point, like Patrick Mahomes is. But nobody in the world was saying Jalen Hurts is going to lead a team to the playoffs 2 straight years. And anyone who says they did is either their last name's Hurts or they're from Houston or they're an Alabama fan. Like nobody was saying that. And the work he's done with Jalen Hurts, along with Brian Johnson, which is why I kind of connect him to Jonathan Gannon, is insanely impressive.
Yeah, I think what he's done up there has been impressive. I like the idea of him coming, bringing that offense with Bryce Young being his quarterback. Drafting a receiver high to go with Bryce Young, getting Jonathan Mechie back, Nico Collins. You got some stuff working there. I just like the idea of that, the run game, the scheme that they use up there. I think it's the future of how things will be done in the NFL, and he's kind of got it figured out.
Wait till they draft Bijan Robinson in the top 10. It's gonna make you sick because they got a luxury pick. Just watch.
I don't see him drafting a running back that highly.
They don't want to pay Sanders.
Sanders.
They don't want to pay their running back.
Philly. You talking about Philly? I thought you were talking about the Texans.
I'm talking about Philly.
Yeah, I'm in my brain. I'm talking about when he's here and what he can do when he gets here. You went back.
Okay.
But yeah,
Miles Sanders. Yeah.
They're not paying running backs out there. They got 3 of them already.
Yeah, I'm saying wait till Philly gets Bijan Robinson, gets to just play around with them.
Yeah, I would. That wouldn't surprise me because, like you said, they got extra pick. I mean, I don't know where they're lacking up there, bro.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Yeah, we need maybe back a quarterback, and that was what I was about to get to. Like, Jalen Hurts has had an excellent year. He was in the MVP conversation before he got banged up. Gardner Minshew came in, and I thought it would have been a great opportunity for Shane Steichen to be like, yeah, my system is so good that Gardner Minshew's going to come in here and ball.
They kind of cooked the Cowboys, though. They were kind of cooking them, though.
Minshew, he didn't hurt Shane's cause, but he didn't help it either. When I'm watching the games, I'm like, Minshew made some bad decisions, bad throws. Guys were still open. But when you talk about narratives, if Minshew would have went up there and played cleaner games and they would have won more of those games, since Hurts has been out, I think people would have given more credit to Steichen as opposed to Jalen Hurts. Because as soon as Jalen Hurts came back, Philly got right back.
Like when Micah Parsons said system right before. Yeah,
right. Same thing. And it would have been like, you know what? He's right. He's right because Minshew came in here and balled out, and the train has not gone off the track at all. But that's not how it ended up happening. Jalen Hurts came back and kind of let people know that he's the real deal, and he's been the real deal for a long time, and he's just continued to improve since college. And so I'm happy for Jalen Hurts, but Shane Steichen, like I said, he'd be somebody else that I'd be good with as well as the head coach of the Texans.
Okay, so you sound good. You're good with everyone right now. We'll get the list on the back end. Wade Smith in the locker room today. Ben Johnson, he actually completed his interview today. What do you think of Ben Johnson? 1 year as a coordinator, was a tight end coach, was in Miami when Dan Campbell was there, and did a good job with Jared Goff. I think that goes without saying. I do find it kind of funny that like people are treating Jared Goff like he's Jamarcus Russell. Like I don't think Jared Goff is like Joe Montana or anything like that. But I mean, he did go to a Super Bowl, and I know it was Sean McVay and whatnot. But I mean, like the way that people talk about Ben Johnson and doing what he did is just like he did it with like Jamarcus Russell or Kyle Bowler or something like that. It's like, I get that Goff is like, you might not want him to be your franchise quarterback, but I mean, he's not just complete trash that you can't like function with.
So Goff to me and Garoppolo are like the same guy.
Yes.
Like they're the same level of guy. Like they can throw for 400 yards in a game. That doesn't matter. And then when it does matter, they're going to throw for a touchdown and 3 picks. And you're going to buy 1 score. And that those guys scare me. And the Lions, I guess they were 9-8 this year, which nobody thought that they would be that good.
Yeah, it was a good year, but people talk about it like it's like, well, we've seen 1 year of it, and he did this with Jared Goff. Like, hey, let's bring him on. I mean, he was the number 1 pick. I mean, he's not. I don't know.
He's not trash.
I don't hate Ben Johnson. It's weird how many people like him. Like it's weird how many people like him. Like, did they watch Hard Knocks or something? Like, are they Hard Knocks horny? Because that is a thing.
it is the thing. You watch Hard Knocks and you fall in love with guys. You fall in love, say, man, damn, I want that for my team because everybody else is watching. But Ben Johnson is young. He's young in a leadership role, being a coordinator. If they brought in Ben Johnson, I'd be surprised. I'd be skeptical. My initial thought would be to be skeptical because I just think he hasn't done enough for me to be like,
I can't cut for him like I can probably 5 of these guys. Like it would be a wait and see type of thing. Like if I acted excited about it, I'd be lying to you.
Yeah, and don't do that. You got to keep it 100 always. So
always,
I would just say that, you know, Ben Johnson, I like what he did this year with Detroit. The offense, they have a damn good offense. It's kind of struggle to start off with. Williams got me a lot of points for fantasy, so I appreciate
touchdown PFAS.
He gives him. Hey, Ben Johnson gives my guy the ball when it gets in between inside the 3-yard line.
That's another thing. The Texans need 2 backs. Let's make that clear.
They definitely
maybe three. Yeah. What about Mike Kafka? This one's interesting. A lot of people talked about him in Kansas City. They said, man, if the enemy goes, they want to promote this guy. They want this guy. He's done a good job with Patrick Mahomes. Again, Patrick Mahomes is offensive coordinator proof. So like anyone that's going to point to that and say, well, you know, you had Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Not only are you being a hater, you're also not looking at what he did in New York with Daniel Jones. Now, that's impressive. Like, if we want to toot the horn of Ben Johnson and say, oh, wow, he won with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's won with another coach. Daniel Jones, if you would have put a gun to my head this year and said, does Daniel Jones start every game for the Giants? I probably would have said no. I would have gotten shot and killed because they're in the playoffs and they actually got a chance to win a playoff game. You want another stat?
Yeah, let me get that stat.
That playoff matchup between the Vikings and Giants is the first time in NFL history 2 playoff teams in one matchup have both had a negative point differential for the season.
Say that again?
Both of these teams have a negative point differential this season. First time ever that a playoff matchup has had that. They allowed more points than they scored, both of them.
So I guess they just blow people out and get blown out?
Maybe.
They've won the Vikings, what are their record? They're like 13-4 or something like that, right?
They were a game out of the 1 seed.
12-5 or something like that.
Yeah, game out of the 1 seed.
So they were just getting the games that they lost them big. They
were the first 11-win team with a negative point differential.
That's crazy. I tell you what, man.
When they had 11, yeah.
Kafka, what he's been able to do in New York is very impressive. You already thought that he had the right lineage when him coming from Kansas City and what they've been able to do, him being under Andy Reid. That's always a feather in your cap. Although you've seen some guys, Gay, since other guys that have left and not had the same success, not even close to it. But him going to New York, they have no receivers. The one receiver that they paid money for is so bad that I don't even want to mention his names. He just really, they have nobody to target out there, and they've been able to move the ball consistently, win ball games, and it's been kind of weird because it's not like they're going out there having dominating performances, but he's gotten a lot out of a little. Daniel Jones was a guy that I'm trying to think of the level of quarterback that I would put him on, but
I would put him. I would have this year. I would have put him below the Garoppolo line, and I wouldn't have even had to think about which one I would rather have. This year, it's the opposite. Like I would rather have Daniel Jones than Garoppolo. So, like in that kind of tier,
Daniel Jones is like a crippled man's Josh Allen, and that's what I thought about him going into the season. Like Josh Allen is, he's way up here, and Daniel Jones had some of his traits when it came to pulling the ball down and running it, even though he trips and falls when he should have had like a 80-yard.
Man, he was going 20 miles an hour. That dude was running. They did like the sports stats. He was going 20 miles an hour, and now he's just a blooper. Like the dude put the Jets on.
Yeah, he got that in him, but he also got that awkward Davis Mills throw the game away in him too.
Has there ever been a bigger race card than Lovey Smith saying, and I know a lot of people don't realize it, but Daniel Jones is a good running quarterback.
I mean, Lovey don't sound like he's the type person that pays attention to what's going on. He probably looked at that tape and be like, I think Lovey was just talking at that moment. I don't know about a race card. I think he was just talking.
I mean, he is a fast dude though.
You know what I noticed though, Landry? You talk to some fans at the game, bro. A lot of them do not care or pay attention to a lot of stuff that you and I and a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
people that are like watching this pay attention to when it comes to
but they're not NFL coaches,
right. But I think he was talking to those people that might know any better. And
Lovey man of the people. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I actually like it, and I say this all the time. Like I think the Lovey criticism is valid. I think if you like look at the gray area, you can understand like, okay, the first 3 years in Chicago, he had Ron Rivera, and then there was like the butting of heads. The last 3 he had Rod Marinelli because the 3 years his way didn't work. Like you can talk about the good and bad of Lovey Smith, but I really don't have any like I don't look at that hire and say that was awful. Like I with where they are right now, like getting through those 2 years with the 75 million dead cap, I just don't look at it like it was like some sort of awful thing that I'm supposed to like completely hold against the organization. You know, I think for that situation, he was fine.
Well, you can hold it against them how they got there. They didn't.
Oh, the process was a joke. I'm talking about getting here. It was a mofo. It was like MapQuest type directions instead of navigation, where you make a few wrong turns. And I am definitely dating myself.
It was a sigh of relief when Lovey got hired. With what was going on and what led to that moment, it was a sigh of relief for a lot of people, fans, former players. It was a sigh of relief for a lot of people because the road they were going down, it was going to be in a really bad spot. That whole McCown train that you was talking about, it was going to be a really bad situation if they would have went that route. So there was relief when he got hired, but you could tell off the rip that it was like, and I could tell, and I mentioned it when it first came out, when he was hyping up Davis Mills so much and saying he's the captain and he's my guy and all that. To me, it just felt like he has to go all in on Davis Mills. Davis Mills has to work out in order for him to be here more than a year or two.
Okay, that's a good line of thinking. And I'm very disappointed that as the podium critic, I didn't think of that because you naturally just make fun of it. But maybe he realized my only ticket to staying here is Davis Mills. So that makes sense. That's a hell of a see, that's why I need to talk to you a little bit more often than I do. And instead of you just
and you got to listen when I fill in for on what is it called now? The drive. It wasn't the drive when I said this. It's the drive now, but it wasn't the drive then when I said this. But I asked John McClain straight up. I said, John, do you feel like that Lovey Smith's job is dependent on Davis Mills' success this year? Because it made complete sense for him to go all in on a guy like that, and he's my leader because he understood what's going on. In order to have a chance is for him to have success. So let me pour everything I can into this guy and give him and I think that's a lot of the reason why they were protecting him so much early in the year, because like, hey, if you trick this off, it's a wrap. We're gonna be moving on. And it's not just Lovey, it's his entire staff that he's trying to look out for. And unfortunately for Lovey, Davis Mills didn't progress. He actually regressed. But at the same time, like what I saw from him the year before, it was just flashes of good, and the good was only coming when it didn't matter or it wasn't in, pressure situations. So I was hoping that he was going to be able to do it. I was hoping, because you always want to see guys succeed. And he's always, when I come across him, he's a good kid, good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I saw when, in certain
he might be able to stay in the league for a while. I mean, he might be able to stay in the league for a while.
Oh, he's definitely going to stay in the league for a while because he has some good footage out there, and he's going to do things the right way and all that. But when you're trying to crown a guy and make a guy a franchise quarterback, especially on the heels of Deshaun Watson, I didn't think it was a likely rate of success. You hope for success, but it didn't seem likely, and it's kind of shown itself to be the case throughout this year.
All right, let's go to Ejiro Evero, defensive coordinator for the Broncos. Did a hell of a job this year. If Russell Wilson had been worth a damn, people would probably appreciate his work a little bit more. Before that, he was with the Rams. So he's kind of he's a McVay guy who was the safeties coach with the Rams for a few years. And then he was the secondary coach / passing game coordinator. And before that, he was in Green Bay and San Francisco. So he's been around a lot of organizations. He's 42 years old. He's actually from England, which I don't know that a lot of people know that, or he was born in England. I'll be honest. This is probably a name that I kind of would say would be on last year's list more so than this year's, just because of the names we're talking about. If he were on last year's list, I think you might be able to make a case that this is the guy they should go with. But in this situation, he's going against some damn monsters here, man. He's basically a Big East champion trying to play in the SEC with this list.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that, man, he went into a situation that was set up for success because the Broncos defense has been good it seemed like ever since Kareem has been there, they've been good. The last 4 years, Denver's defense has been damn good. They drafted Pat Surtain, little Pat kid that used to walk around the locker room when I was with the Dolphins. Now you
got to feel old, man.
It makes me feel old for sure. He's a little kid in the locker room. Now he's the best corner in the league, but or one of the best corners in the league. But
there's always the internet person just wait, you said he's the best corner in the league?
I'm biased. Sue me. You know what I mean? I saw this little kid walking around with J's that were what the elementary school or toddler size J's. So it is what it is. But I tell you what, man, I think Everro is it's a timing thing. He's a little bit younger in the process of being where I would want somebody to be, especially when you're competing with, like you said, there's so many other candidates. I think it's a timing thing. Maybe he'll be a head coach in the future, but I don't know enough about him to be this guy is going to be. I know the Rams defense was damn good, but I know the Rams spend a lot of investment on players, offense and defense, but especially F them picks. It's caught up with them, but they still got the Super Bowl, so it is what it is. I'd take that trade off in a heartbeat. You can just you're re-up the way the league is set up. You can win a Super Bowl, you can be trash for a couple of years, but in a couple of years after that, you can be right back good again, especially if you got good coaches. So, I think he's up against it. He's gonna get some looks and get some interviews and stuff, but I'd be surprised if he came out of this group. If he came out of this group, to me, that means that a lot of the guys that we already mentioned chose other places or chose to go back to where they were.
Yeah, I don't think, not to be unfair to him, because this is a it's a process. It's a stressful process, but I don't think that would excite a lot of people. If you hired Everro, I don't even think Ben Johnson's a very exciting hire as everyone else does. I think this is kind of like my epiphany. I'm not as high on Ben Johnson as he might be great, but whatever. I'm just okay. Ben Johnson, all right. Well, okay. Whatever you say. Yeah, Jared Goff. Okay, yeah. Never seen him have a good season before. All right.
Hey, what, man? Ben Johnson, like I said, he's young, and let get a little bit more, some more pelts on the wall.
Yeah,
do a little bit more. I mean, think we went from potentially having Josh McCown as a coach that never coached, and now we're poo-pooing.
But it worked with Tomlin. Who knows what they were saying about Tomlin when the Steelers did it? We could have been saying the same thing, but Tomlin they saw something, so maybe they see something in Ben Johnson. I don't know.
I don't, they don't let assistants talk that often, but Ben Johnson, Mike Tomlin come into a room, that's his room, right? He captures the room, and everybody is drawn and gravitates to him. When he sits down in the cafeteria, everybody sits at his table. That's D'Amico Ryans. Everybody's gonna sit at this table. We'll see what Cap got to talk about. What's going on? You're competing with all of those guys, so. We'll see Ben Johnson. I would not be mad at it because, like I said, he's done a good job with that offense out there in Detroit, and so he's taken some guys that have had some struggles in their career, and guys that aren't as highly as touted players and gotten a lot out of them. But he also has a lot of help up there too. His running backs coach is legit.
Deuce
Staley, like
Deuce, crazy ass Deuce.
Now Deuce was in Philly when I was in Philly my last year in the league, and Deuce was
he's intense as hell.
Yeah, but
he likes to clown though. He likes to talk some smack.
See, now you on that's that hard knock stuff that you basing it off of.
No, it's that pickle juice game against the Cowboys when he stuck his foot in their ass and was talking all kinds of trash afterwards.
But that's as a player.
That's old school. No, but yeah, he brought it with him though. He brought it with him. I remember that. Remember the pickle juice game? That was Andy Reid's first game in Philly, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
It was in the late 90s. Andy Reid's first game, pickle juice game. They used pickle juice when it was hot, and it apparently helped them with their cramps. And the Cowboys were cramping.
When I was in high school, drinking some pickle juice, but I don't see many people doing that very often anymore.
Well, they did it, and they stuck their foot in the Cowboys' ass bad.
Well, that's good. Game. That's good because I've never been really a fan of the Cowboys, so that's all right. My mom probably be mad at me if she sees this, but it's all.
What about Thomas Brown? They're going back to the McVay tree. So they're going to Philly. They're dipping into the McVay tree with Everro and Thomas Brown. They're going with the old established guy in Payton, and then D'Amico Ryans. What about Thomas Brown? He just seems to me like, first of all, he's got some damn energy. I mean, this guy, the name alone might not excite people, but this is a guy that's going to win the press conference. Like, this guy is going to win the press conference. By the way, Everro grew up in California. He was just born in England. But Brown is going to win the press conference. This, to me, though, if Sean McVay leaves, this just seems like a really no-brainer for the Rams to just let him take over. I think he's eventually going to be a head coach, though. I just don't know if he's going to be who they end up going with in this situation.
I would be surprised, even though he's the assistant head coach now or the associate head coach, whatever that title is. I would be surprised if they bumped him up if McVay left, because I think they're going to want somebody with a little bit more sizzle. It's LA. They're going to want to sell tickets. That's very important.
Bro, they can't sell tickets when they make the Super Bowl. What do you mean they want to sell tickets in LA?
But they can't do that forever. I mean, they got Sean McVay. They're going to want somebody in a similar ilk, I think, to coach a team in LA. That just makes too much sense to me. Thomas Brown, I actually have heard him talk. I saw something. I don't know what I was looking at. I was looking at something, and
you were looking at the Pelissaro montage, I think, on Twitter.
Might have been. I liked a lot of what I was hearing from him, but to me, what I gathered from that was like, 2-3 years from now, he's going to be a hell of a coach, like a hell of a head coach, right? But it didn't seem like to me that he was going to be that guy now. I mean, I like the fact that the way that he's going about doing things, coaching different positions. He was with running backs, and then now he's coaching tight ends and being an assistant head coach, so he can get kind of that wider view of how things work and being a decision maker and all that. It's getting himself prepared for that. But I think there's something to be said for being a coordinator and having to be in a coordinator. I just think that there's something to be said for that. And so I think Thomas Brown is a guy that, a couple of years from now, he will be there. But for this situation with the Texans, he's lower on my list.
All right. Gerard Mayo looks like he's going to get an extension. So the nightmare for a lot of people is not going to happen. Although I don't hate Gerard Mayo. I just don't think they can afford to do that. I actually, I think a lot of the things that you say about D'Amico, you could probably say the same about Gerard Mayo. I know Arian talked about that on that podcast too, said Gerard Mayo reminds him a lot of D'Amico. So let's get is there anyone that they haven't interviewed that you want on the list? Is there anything there? Like, I'm really kind of straight with this list.
Amazing, because there was times when
how you feel about Harbaugh?
I don't really want any part of Harbaugh. I really don't. I think
he just seems psycho to me. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird now.
Khakis for me, man. The khakis just kind of throw me out. The flood and khakis, it weirds me out. Get off my lawn. I feel like that. I'm gonna get yelled at for walking across somebody's house.
That's how I feel about Will Levis and that damn Mayo bit they keep running with.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
parts of him either, man. Let's stay
Yeah.
away from Levis and the prototypical size. Just give me a guy that can ball when it matters the most.
So give me your list real quick, and then we'll get into what you just mentioned, the quarterbacks a little bit. Give me your list, your top 4 or 5 in order.
In order. D'Amico's one, head and shoulders above the rest. I would say Sean Payton would be 2. I would say Kafka would be 3. I would give me Kafka and Shane. Those tied at 3, and then 5 would be Gannon. We probably gonna end up with Gannon. Who knows? But if I had to make the decision, it would be D'Amico Ryans. Now, it's two-way street. A lot of these guys are hot candidates, and they have a lot of options. Because there's what's about 6 teams now that are without coaches right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna have options. But I think the best fit for the Texans would be D'Amico, because you're gonna get the leader of men. You're gonna get the guy that has a defense that is tried and true. You're gonna get the connection to the city, especially when the organization is trying to do so much to reconnect with the city. This does it bridges that. There was questions about D'Amico. He's answered them. There was questions about him 2 years ago when I was standing on the table about him, and the defense gets better and better. It gets like you're not used to seeing dominant defenses in NFL anymore, because the game is set up for the defenses to not be successful, but they continue to do great things. And then this offensive scheme that I think comes with him, I know that thing inside and out. I know how it works. I look at the pieces that they have on the roster right now. There's nobody on the roster right now that you would want coming back next year that can't play in that offense. Like Kenyon Green can play in that offense. Tunsil can play in that offense.
Kenyon Green can run block, man. He's perfect for that offense.
Yeah, like there's so many things that I know what comes with D'Amico as far as that goes. To me, he's head and shoulder above the rest. Then you got Sean Payton. I dislike the idea, almost hate the idea of giving up draft compensations for him. But at the same time, I know what I'm gonna get, and free agents gonna know what they're gonna get. And I think about Sean Payton and how his offense worked in the past. And this, I'm gonna hit you with an EA Sports right here. Like, why can't he draft Bryce Young, his undersized quarterback, and then why can't Hop come home? Why can't he have his Michael Thomas? Why can't he have his Michael Thomas? Why not? Now your receiving core is DeAndre Hopkins.
Man,
receiver Quentin Johnson.
Nuke needs to go somewhere like where they're going to win immediately.
You think Sean Payton, if Sean Payton thinks that he can, if Sean Payton chooses the Houston Texans, the Texans will be a middle of the road team next year. And then the year after that, now you're looking at them starting to compete. That's what Sean Payton brings. To me, D'Amico brings, like, I don't think the turnaround will be that drastic, but it's going to be a gradual build. And then once it's there, it's going to stay there for a very long time. Tomlin-esque. That's what I see with D'Amico. Sean Payton, I think the quicker turnaround, if you want the quicker turnaround, Sean Payton's going to bring that. But I don't know that.
I just don't. I think a young guy can turn it around pretty quickly, though, man. Like I don't know.
And it depends on what your definition of turning around is. Are we saying
compete for a playoff spot right away, like that type of thing? Like I
don't know if that's necessarily saying that much, but I would say this, like,
shoot, if they competed for a playoff spot next year or something.
I think the Texans, the way that they're set up with what they're going to be able to bring in with picks, with money spent, all that stuff, a new coach, they should be around a 500 team, even though it's not possible anymore. But they should be able to drastically improve the win total over this past season. And so,
I mean, they have to.
They don't have to. They have to. They have to for certain people.
I mean, they can't win 3 games, bro. I mean,
they're gonna be a team that should be in every game. If they have a legitimate quarterback, then some of those games that they lost, they win.
I've heard you mention this a couple of times, Bryce Young. So you're in on Bryce Young. No questions asked. That's my only pick at number 2 guy. That's it. Like that's my quarterback. If that I wanted to take Bryce Young at 1, Brandon Cooks owns Nick Caserio, so that didn't happen. He's basically allowed to do whatever he wants and then go lose you the number 1 pick. I would feel like less of a man if Brandon Cooks did to me what he did to Caserio. Honestly,
you wouldn't trade Brandon Cooks to Arizona for Hop?
They're not going to do that.
Who's not going to do that? If you give
Arizona wants young guys, they want something.
Okay.
But damn, are you playing Matt? Do you got a video game controller in your hand or something like that? Is your franchise mode up? What's going on with you?
Hey, they got the dollars they're not that similar, but
well, Nuke wants new dollars.
Huh?
Nuke wants new dollars.
He always does, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's his thing.
They had it then, they still got it.
But Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young, listen, people will say what they want to say about his size and all that. I just watch him play. Watch him play. You watch him play. He's playing against guys that are 6'5", 6'6", and he's playing against big-time defensive backs and defensive lines, and he's avoiding pressure, and he's standing in the pocket, and he scrambles only when he needs to scramble. Like, he's accurate. He has all the traits. Like, he's just a damn good quarterback. And so the size,
he has all the makeup you need to counter that. Like, there's like, if he was tall, like he has all the makeup that you need to counter being short. And the other thing is, like, people talk about it like there's like just some big array of young guys that even put themselves in position to be in the conversation. Like, normally, like, it's like you would think that there's like, I keep hearing like, well, you know, small quarterbacks don't do this. How many have even been this good? Like, there have been some small quarterbacks that were good in college. There's no one that you can compare their body of work to what Bryce Young has heading into the NFL. You can't compare it to anything.
You can't. Some guys are just that good. Like, the only person you can kind of compare.
He got a scholarship offer in 7th grade.
Is Kyler Murray, but the difference between him and Kyler Murray is
Kyler's fine.
He's a good quarterback. He's not great. He's not excellent. He's not elite. But overall,
but what stops him from being great is what Bryce Young possesses.
Right.
So, like, comparing Kyler Murray and Bryce Young is actually disrespectful, because Bryce Young's never going to have, and I know that they took it out, he's never going to have something in his contract that says you got to watch enough tape. He's never going to be accused of not being able to play under schedule. Like, he can play off schedule, but it's not his first priority. Like, sometimes it's Kyler's first priority. He wants to set up the street ball play. That's not Bryce Young. Like, no. Comparing those two, they're nothing alike. Like, they're nothing alike except their height. That's it. Other than that, there's nothing about them
that are similar as their size.
But they also both do a good job of protecting themselves.
There's a lot of similarities as far as their physical abilities. But Bryce Young is a more accurate passer. He's better in the pocket. He's better in the press conference. He's better off the field. He's better in the locker room. He's just better. I mean, you think about this kid has been, I don't know how many millions he's made as a college player, but he's handled that very well at an even younger age. So,
it's a Dr. Pepper, man.
I mean, he's been in commercials for 2-3 years now. And it hasn't affected his play one bit. You know, some guys get in HB commercials and all of a sudden, especially quarterbacks here in Houston, that, like, I don't think Bryce Young's going to get an HB commercial and struggle because of that. He ain't got that Osweiler in him and none of that stuff. I just look at him like he's the best quarterback in his draft. He's the smallest quarterback in his draft. So what? Like, can he ball?
I just haven't seen anything where he looks like he's struggling because he's small. He also does a good job of he protects the hell out of himself. Like, I know he hurt the shoulder, but everybody gets hurt.
He got that Marvin Harrison in him. He don't take those shots like that. And if you're not taking shots, and then they don't allow people to give shots anymore anyway. So I think he's gonna be fine.
People are comparing him to Tua too. Like, it's like any short quarterback, you just compare him. Hey, look at what's happening with Tua. Dude, Tua broke his hip in college.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Young missed a couple of games with a shoulder injury that you see quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers had the same situation, except his was much longer. Quinn Ewers is big. Like it's that, like you're going to fall on your shoulder. Joe Burrow tore his ACL first year in the league. Like he tore his ACL. So like it's going to happen. Kyler Murray didn't get hurt because he was short. It was a non-contact injury. He tore his ACL. Like they keep trying to compare Bryce Young to guys.
But that's who Bryce Young is. He's Joe Burrow, just not size-wise. Like, but as far as his skills and abilities, like he's Joe Burrow. Like a guy that can stand in the pocket and beat anybody, can pull it down and run it when he needs to, when he wants to. You could plus run one him every now and again just because you feel like doing it. He has the ability to do it. Like, that's who I compare him to as far as his ability to throw the football accurately, get it out there on time, all those different terms that they use. He's just a highly effective quarterback. And so if you have the ability to get him, you go get him. And now you don't worry about that position for a very, very long time.
They tried to piss it away on Sunday. I mean, watch Indianapolis trade up and get him now from 4.
That is what it is. That was comedy. The way that went down.
It was actually it was funny, but it wasn't, because it could have been prevented.
I mean, how do you prevent it, bro?
You don't play Brandon Cooks and you trade Brandon Cooks. That's it. I said from the beginning, this guy doesn't give a damn about you.
Where does that directive come from?
Caserio, he's not playing. We're trying to trade him next year. He doesn't want to be here. He's sitting out, just like Chicago played their third stringers. Now, you can't ask Lovey to do it. That's disrespectful, and you can't ask any player to tank. No. They got to go out there and win, but Brandon Cooks ain't playing. He's the best player on your team. He ain't playing.
But I thought Lovey Smith determined who played and didn't play.
Give a damn what he determines. In this situation, Brandon Cooks is out.
You open yourself up to some issues when you do that. You see what's going on with Stephen Ross and all that deal. Like, yeah, that gets dicey, man. I was just surprised that they were able to make the plays when they made the plays. I was.
It goes back to your Davis Mills theory. Like when there's no pressure and you're just going out there, he's gonna play well.
Exactly. But
when it's not, like if the playoffs had been on the line, like if there'd been like a playoff spot on the line, Davis Mills probably would have thrown 7 picks.
I hope it wouldn't be that bad, but I just
all right, 3.
I don't see him making those plays in those type of situations. He hasn't shown that yet, and that's the way the league works. You have to show that you can perform in those situations for you to get that credit that you perform in those situations, and he hasn't done that. You know, you look at what happened in the Kansas City game. Like, you playing against a really good team, you're tied in overtime, you pull the ball down and fumble it. It's like, damn, what are we doing? Like, in the most critical, like you were going to pull an upset that was going to shock the world, critical situation, you fumble the ball in your red zone. So, and that wasn't the first time that's happened. It's happened multiple times. So, you know, enough about Davis Mills, because
we'll move on.
Somebody else is going to be the franchise quarterback. Will he be the backup? That'll be interesting discussion to see if that happens. But he's going to be playing somewhere. He's done enough to where he's going to be on somebody's roster next season. And at the end of the day, that's what you would hope, especially when you're a third-round quarterback that didn't come in with a lot.
It was worth the kick of the tires, whatever. What do you want to do with the next 2 picks? Because I want to go offense. I want offensive skill position guys. I want to go receiver, running back. I mean, that's just where I'm at right now. I want to make Dameon Pierce 1B, 1A, 1B. Whether it's Gibbs out of Bama, whether it's Bijan Robinson, whether it's A-Chain, something like that. And then maybe you get the top receiver at 12, which I think it's going to be interesting. I think people are kind of sleeping on Smith and Jigba and Addison. Like I keep hearing Quentin Johnston, and it's like, Quentin Johnston's the no-brainer, all that type of stuff. Don't be surprised if Addison or Smith and Jigba are the first receiver, because I know that we have like short memories, but before Smith and Jigba got hurt this year and kind of started making some smart decisions and erring on the side of caution, we didn't know much about Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I know Ohio State pumps out receivers, and we're talking about a team that just lost what's going to be the offensive rookie of the year in Garrett Wilson, and they got Chris Olave, who the Saints traded a first-round pick to move up and get. But Smith and Jigba, a lot of people thought was the best receiver on that entire team before he got hurt. I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't surprise some people.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a football player. If I'm at 12 and Quentin Johnston's there,
So you're going Johnston.
Yeah.
What about Addison?
I like Addison.
Although I do think when we talk about character, I'm not questioning his character. I actually think he's a genius. I do bet that like the way that he left NIL wise might like rub Caserio the wrong way.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if that.
Although he did unsolicited bring it up.
But yeah, I don't know how much that should or shouldn't matter.
I don't think it should.
I look at what Quinn Johnson brings as far as the size, the speed, playmaking ability at 12. I love the idea of him being the receiver you pair with Bryce Young. And then you get a running back with the first pick in the second round. Like, to me, the first 3 picks for the Texans are all offense.
Yeah.
Receiver, running back, offensive lineman. Center. So receiver, lineman, center. And then they
can fix O-line. They just need 2 O-linemen, right?
Huh?
Or do they just need 2 O-linemen? What'd you think? You think AJ Cann's more of a reserve guy? Because he got a little bit better.
AJ Cann is a solid football player. If you have Kenyon Green playing up to what he can do, Tunsil, Howard, and a center that you draft, that line is fine. The line was not bad this year. The line played good ball this year. Kenyon Green had some struggles at a certain part of the year, to the mid part of the year. AJ Cann had some struggles a little bit here and there, but for the most part, he was consistent. I thought he had a pretty decent year. I wouldn't mind him coming back at all, especially if you go out and get the best center in the draft with that first pick in the second round, or that your second round pick, whatever those. I mean that third round pick.
Man, you're trying. Oh, okay, you're going third. Okay, get a little center action there. Okay,
Just get you a center there.
I can get down with that.
But defensively, the Texans need to use a lot of money in free agency, all 3 levels. Pay a D lineman, pay a linebacker, pay a DB.
The secondary ain't bad, man. Like I think they're making make Jonathan Owens a depth guy away from having a pretty good secondary. And I would bring back Thomas. I would bring back Tavier Thomas, and I would bring back Tremont Smith. And Desmond King's back no matter what. Like, the secondary, when healthy, is actually pretty decent. They actually did a decent job of fixing the secondary this year.
I think the secondary is pretty decent. I agree with that, but I want a guy.
I want another safety.
I would take I need to look and see who's on the market as far as safeties and corners, but I would rather have a corner.
Well, Nelson and Stingley and King are your corners right now, and if you put Thomas and Smith in there, I think that's pretty set. Because Nelson's got a 2-year deal. King got a 2-year deal. It's kind of weird that they ran more man when Stingley got hurt.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. He was only doing a lot of man coverage, but I'm not. Stingley has to show that he can stay healthy. I need a corner.
Bro, that was caution this year, though, right? A little bit of caution.
I mean, in the past 3 years, he's missed. I don't know how many.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Saying, like, it's the league, so you got to show it. I know he can ball, but you still have to go out there and actually do it.
See, everyone's saying Daron Payne. That's expensive, but hey, that's the kind of thing that can. Okay.
Look at the Bengals. What the Bengals did, the Texans can do the exact same thing. The Bengals drafted Burrow. They drafted Jamar Chase. They paid DJ Reader. Like, they did these things, and all of a sudden, to me, the Bengals, is the favorite to go to the AFC. I mean, go to the Super Bowl.
No, they're the hottest team in the league right now. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
When they play Kansas City, they have their number. Like, to me, the Bengals are the best.
No, they're the best bet.
They're the best team in the AFC. And even though they're not going to have home field, to me, they're the best team. And so, You look at their receiving core, like they have 3 dogs at receiver. They got different levels of dogs, but they got all of them can ball. Boyd, Higgins. That's why I'm like, bring in Quentin Johnson. You know what I mean? Bring in another guy. Quentin Johnson, that's a draft pick. Bring in a veteran receiver. I want hot biased reasons, but he's going to get traded. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Why not bring him on? But, you know, call it Madden what you want. But I just look at the Bengals and how they did things. The Texans could not easily, but there's a blueprint to be made of drafting a quarterback high that has a similar skill set, drafting a receiver high, and I made this comparison, I think, when I was on the drive, like, or maybe I was with you, I can't remember, but can Dameon Pierce not be a similar style running back or similar as far as production as Mixon is in Cincinnati?
I don't know if he's as like complete. I mean, I think he's
He's not
between the tackles, he's straight. I mean, like from an overall production standpoint, yeah, but I think Mixon's probably a little bit better receiver.
I think it's just because he's a veteran. When they throw the ball to him a lot.
No, he can catch the rock a lot better than people thought he could.
Right, but I just think they're similar types of backs, and you get another back to pair with them. Like the Texans offense,
I want to overpay a running back
better than the Bengals offensive line. So
I would overpay for your boy Tony Pollard, man.
I think somebody's going to be very happy with him, whoever gets him.
Dude, I know a lot of people are against it, but if you have all these rookies on deals, you have Dameon Pierce, and you see how 2 like good multiple running backs can be. My argument for Tony Pollard is normally I don't want to give running backs, like I'm a draft a running back guy, and not really the second contract. If they give me 2 or 3 years of elite, I'm good because they can make a big impact, and then we'll just figure something else out. But from a Tony Pollard perspective, why he's different is when he starts, he's one of the best running backs in the league. Like that's not even disputable. Like he doesn't have the wear and tear, but it's not even debatable. Like it's factual. When he starts, and we don't have a large sample size of that, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And my boy Jeff Kavanaugh was saying, so does he all of a sudden become – he's obviously going to have more wear and tear, but if you put him with Dameon Pierce and you're establishing like a run game and you can get creative, I would overpay Tony Pollard. You got to overpay someone.
You're going to have to – if you're a free agent.
With all these rookies, I mean, you got – I mean, there's going to be a Texans tax too. You know that.
Check this out, though. We were talking about Sean Payton earlier, right? So Sean Payton, to me, Tony Pollard that's a Sean Payton type of guy. Very much so got the skill set of Alvin Kamara, and you have Dameon Pierce be your Mark Ingram, the 1-2 tandem. Like there's some things that if Sean Payton is the guy here, I think there's some guys that he's going to want to go identify and go out and get. Yeah. Tony Pollard kind of fits that mold of that type of player, and Dameon Pierce kind of fits that mold of a Mark Ingram type in his prime. Like to me. I ain't mad at that combination there at all.
Now, this is the second person who's mentioned it. TJ Williams mentioned Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State. I love Deuce Vaughn. He's little. That doesn't even matter at running back. That is a non-factor. I think he's probably going to be a 2nd or 3rd round guy. Like I think he's going to end up being a really good NFL player. But to me, I don't think like him and Pierce is a 1-2. Maybe it would work out. I don't know. I also wonder if Pollard leaves Dallas, if he doesn't end up there because his dad's on the in the scouting staff or whatever. So
ends up where?
Dallas.
Oh, and are you talking about Deuce Vaughn end up in Dallas? If Tony
his dad's there. So
gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, I just want to overpay. People are talking about the Notre Dame tight end at 12. I'm not drafting a tight end at 12, sir. I'm sorry. When is that? Like if you want to talk about stuff that doesn't work, when is drafting a tight end in the top 10 work? We can go through that damn list if you want. From Eric Ebron to Kellen Winslow to Vernon Davis to whatever. You can't.
I like Jordan Akins. I'm fine with that. Let's get better at other places. And
I like Quintiriano. I think he's going to come back looking huge too in year 2.
Are decent football players to good. So yeah, I don't think that's a spot where you're lacking. Whereas you need a receiver. You need a guy.
Casario liked him in New England, though. That Aaron Hernandez Gronk draft, that kind of I think it kind of prolonged Brady's career, honestly. Like, if they don't do that.
That tandem was probably the best tandem
ever.
Like, you think about it, like, ever. And then probably the numbers bear that out, but just remember playing.
They paid them both. New England doesn't pay anyone. They paid both of them.
But they paid them smart, though. They paid them like 2 years into their contracts.
Yeah, but they paid them. they knew the importance of it.
Yeah,
that duo was filthy.
Did it the right way. Paid them early on. Oh, we got these guys. We drafted them and we paid them, so we got them below market value. Even though we had to, put some cash out there earlier than we otherwise would have. You either pay now or pay later, and they paid now, and it paid off for them.
Remember when they just randomly decided, you know what? We want to use both of these guys the same way. We've been doing it the traditional way, but we're just going to decide, and during a random stretch of the season, we're just going to toss the ball to Aaron Hernandez and make him look like a damn someone who has to get their birth certificate checked at a Pee-wee game or something like that.
He was Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel was.
He was cold, man. And then he would score. I don't want to pay homage to Aaron Hernandez, but remember the score? He just make it rain real hard.
Yeah. I don't really rock with that guy, man.
I don't either. But he was a good football player.
He was supposed to be playing in that game when we lost to them in the playoffs or whatever. He wasn't even supposed to be there, bro. He
scored 2 touchdowns, didn't he?
Yeah. He was supposed. He had killed somebody or been part of that. He shouldn't even.
Okay.
He shouldn't have been there. And if he ain't there, then things go a little different.
Okay. Now that's what nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
I can get down with that. What do you think about Laramie Tunsil? He's going to get an extension, right?
Yeah, he's going to get paid. I don't know if it's going to be an extension. I don't know if he's going to get paid. He's got one more year on his deal, right? After this year, like,
bro, his cap hit's $35 million. So he has all the leverage again.
Yeah, but they might not pay him. They might just say, you can miss all the offseason and show up when the games start mattering. And I don't think it would be too much of a detriment to him if he did that. But if
he does that, I ain't saying a damn thing this year.
Yeah, leave that man alone, bro. I try to tell you boys about time. But listen, to me, you should go ahead and just extend them another 3 years. And
I think so too.
Of it, because you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, I would too. And he ain't tied to Jack Easterby. He's tied to nobody. Laramie Tunsil is his own man. He's just going to show up. He's just going to handle his business. It doesn't matter if you're 3-14 or you're 14-3. He's going to be the same guy, for better or worse. That's Laramie Tunsil. He's just going to play ball. That's it.
Listen, at the end of the day, Laramie Tunsil is the type of player that cares about winning his one-on-one matchup, and that's pretty much it. And if you got a left tackle that's that talented and he cares deeply about winning his matchups, hey, put him out there and let him do his work. And we'll figure out everything else over here. Let him do his work. Put him over there on the island. Let him go to work. And that's what he did this year. He missed time last year.
Hurt thumb, man. That was a bad injury.
He didn't come back from that deal. And that they
couldn't do that with Cooks this year though.
Cooks had to come back, man. He had to put some. He didn't have good film early in the year, bro.
Yeah, I know.
He was dropping passes. He was struggling. So then they had to come back and catch sideline passes.
Well, he got his good film.
He got his good film, so people know he still got it.
Good for him.
Arizona, bro. He wouldn't want to go out there anyway because he's trying to win.
Who?
Cooks.
Who? No, he's not. He's lying. He misses Jack. He didn't care about winning.
He don't care about
Jack. No, it was the day after Jack left. That's when he said it. He didn't care.
Okay, Landry.
He was straight.
We gotta come with a bet. He will be traded to a team that has a plus 500 record this season.
Well, yeah, because those are going to be the teams on the market. Like it's going to be Dallas, Baltimore.
So if you go places, you go into a place that he has a chance of winning. He cares about winning, bro.
No, he wants to chill with Jack. That's what he wants to do. That's what's exciting for him.
They want to kill. Nobody want to chill with Zach.
He does.
Zach, whatever.
Yeah, he wants to chill with Jack. That's all he wants to do. So what if let's say this, and this is, I'll get you out of here on this. Like, what if Bryce Young doesn't get picked? Like, or Bryce Young goes number 1 to whoever. Someone trades up and gets Bryce Young. Do you have a backup plan at quarterback, or at that point are you going Will Anderson and then just adjusting on the fly?
I think it depends on who the head coach is. Like if D'Amico is the head coach, then I'm like, all right, D'Amico, get your Jalen Carter, get your defense.
Get your fellow Alabama guy, Will Anderson.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of Jalen Carter today than
really
today. Yeah.
Wow.
The interior pressure is a problem, bro. Like the Chris Jones of the world and the Aaron Donalds of the world.
So is that edge pressure. I mean, we can name some names there.
I know that there's edge pressure, but the Texans got like a lot out of Jerry Hughes and Grenard when he's healthy, like guys like that. Like I feel like there's only like 6 or 7 defensive tackles in the league that just dominate play in and play out. There's multiple guys outside that can do that. So give me the guy on the inside. It just helps out everything.
Okay.
I would say Jalen if it's like D'Amico, but if it's like Sean Payton is the coach or any of those offensive-minded coaches, then I'm like, all right, C.J. Stroud. I saw some things out of C.J. Stroud that I liked. I know he's got the size.
He actually decided to run.
He's got all of those tools that are what the prototypical new age quarterback is. And so, yeah, I'd be good with C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. There's not a with the people that are coming in the draft right now, where the Texans are picking, it's going to be hard for them to kind of mess this up. Just to be honest with you, it's going to be hard for them to mess it up. It's going to be hard for me to look at it and be like, you picked who? You picked why? Like, because I think they know what their needs are. Like, hey, we need a quarterback. We need a guy that we can be the guy. Now, like I said, Sean Payton, he makes me a little nervous because there's guys that are going to be available that are veterans that he might say, you know, hey, Derek Carr, you're going to be my Drew Brees, or Jimmy G, you're going to be my Drew Brees. I'm going to bring you in here as a veteran guy, and you're going to have your best, part of your career with me. And that makes things a little bit dicey for me. But, yeah, if the Texans don't get Bryce Young at 1, it's going to depend on who the coach is or who I really want at 2.
Okay.
But they got to get a quarterback, bro.
Okay, but sometimes he's not there. But when you have that mindset, sometimes you get in trouble, man.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If they allow somebody to trade up to get Bryce Young, I'm gonna be upset because I know that for one,
they ain't got no choice
for ammunition than anybody else to trade. So that means they decided that they didn't like Bryce Young enough to go up and get them himself.
Or the Bears decided, and this is why it was such a joke they won. The Bears decided, Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded coach, he decided he doesn't see much of a difference between Will Anderson or Carter. He likes both of those guys, and he realizes the Texans need a quarterback so he can trade back to 4. And worst case scenario, you end up with one of your guys, because it's not like at quarterback. I've tried to explain this, and you tell me if this is dumb or not. There's a chance, but I think that like quarterbacks are different than like cornerbacks or running backs or defensive guys, in that whenever scouts get together and they get in a room, I think some of them can say, all right, this is 1A and this is 1B. But with quarterbacks, I feel like they fall in love with one guy, and more a lot of the times there's not even like a close second because they love that guy so much. It's not like, oh, we're going to take Sauce if Stingley goes. Sometimes I think they just adjust accordingly, or I think there's at least been times where you should, or you just end up taking a quarterback just to take a quarterback.
I think you should never take a quarterback to take a quarterback, because the quarterback is the most significant person that's on your roster.
Exactly.
You got to have your guy. You pick your guy. You can't pick a quarterback just to – now, I think that there's enough quarterbacks in this draft that you're going to be fond of more than one guy.
Yeah, because it's different, because it's not like the Lawrence draft where it was, okay, Trevor Lawrence is 1 and everybody else, there's like 4 different answers for number 2.
Right.
This one, there's 4 different answers for number 1 through 4. That's what makes me so nervous about it.
But how many people are really saying that like Will Levis should be the number 1 guy?
Dude, I mean, I don't want to have like a straw man argument, but I feel like people are more open to it than you would think. I don't get it. I said that Josh Allen is turning into the Dirk Nowitzki of he's turned into the Dirk Nowitzki of football, because for 20 years, whether it was a big ass Asian 7-footer, not Yao Ming, Yi Jinlian, whether it was Vladimir, like whoever, any Nikolai Shiftovili or whatever, there was always the next Dirk. You heard it forever. It's like, man, you know, that white stiff right there that can shoot a little bit, that's Dirk. That's what it feels like they're doing with Josh Allen now. Anybody who's not accurate in college, anybody who's raw, anyone who's tall and can move around, I've heard him compared to two guys. I mean, if you listen to some people, there's 2 Josh Allens. There's Will Levis and then there's Anthony Richardson. Like, I think it's nuts to compare Will Levis to Josh Allen. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen took a while to become Josh Allen.
He did, but that's the other thing that happens with Josh Allen is that you almost like you try to overcompensate for sleeping on someone by hyping people up too much to act like he's that guy because you don't want to sleep on someone again. So
right.
Then you find yourself like chasing your tail. It's like, oh well, we all laughed at Josh Allen when he got drafted. So, you know, this guy who had to transfer from Penn State because he couldn't win the job there and went to Kentucky and, you know, had this completion percentage, he's going to be the next Josh Allen. Or this guy at Florida who had a low completion percentage and wasn't consistent and yada, yada. He's going to be Josh Allen. It's like Oprah giving away cars all the summer with Josh Allen.
I'm going to probably make you mad with this, though, but what if someone was to say to you, hey, the same way it took Josh Allen a while to get good and he used to trick the game away and stuff, because you remember what he did in the playoff game against the Texans.
When he tried to, oh God.
Didn't he throw a fumble or something like that? He was tricking off some
Remember
stuff.
when he tried to lateral it against the Texans?
Yeah.
Before they took the lead or whatever and tied it?
Yeah. So what if they say, well, why don't you give Davis Mills the same chance? Because the reason why Josh Allen all that stuff is because he's a first-round draft pick. What if there's people out there that will say that if you get Davis Mills right?
No. And I'm gonna surprise you because damn it, I don't want to say this, but when you throw out the possibility of Mike Kafka or even like someone from the Eagles, I do think like
if they
they do?
They can fix Davis Mills.
It sounds outlandish, but like people weren't saying good things about Jalen Hurts even after last year. Like people weren't saying good things about him heading into the year. Like I do wonder, like if Kafka and the Eagles staff do have that magic dust, what would it look like with Mills? I don't think it. Let me put it this way: I don't think it would look like this is your franchise guy. But if your top quarterback Bryce Young is gone at 1, and then you don't like other guys, I think it could maybe look like Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not either. You're the one who brought it up, though.
Yeah, but
I don't want it.
But people, I think people feel like
I don't even want him on the team next year.
Why? What did he do to you, man?
He just seems too delusional for
me,
guy. Man. I don't want him around my young QB anymore.
He's not going to influence. He's not a kind of a influential type of guy.
Nah, I know.
Man, that's going to split the locker room or nothing like that. So
he's definitely not that.
He's going to sit down and go to work. So yeah, I think he'll be fine here. He's not the guy, and so I don't think the guy, and so he might be the guy somewhere else down the road. He might be.
He might start some important games if he's here. I mean, backups play. You know.
Does Geno Smith get paid? Or does Seattle take a quarterback and move on from Geno?
I mean, I wouldn't pay Geno even for how good he's been. I mean, if I would entertain the possibility. Huh?
Who are they playing in the first round?
San Fran.
Oh, well, yeah.
But they seem to be pretty loose, and that line's kind of weird.
They got to be loose. They got to be loose. They don't expect – nobody expects them to win.
Yeah. Nobody expected them to be there.
Bro, they run into a chainsaw. The damn 49ers are a problem.
Yeah, and they're healthy now.
Yeah.
Healthy-ish.
Yeah, I got them in Philly in the NFC Championship, and I got the Bengals and whoever. I guess it depends on how it shakes out with the seeding and all that, but probably the Bengals and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And bro, I do not.
I don't want the Chiefs to. I want all bad things for the Chiefs.
I think the Bengals will beat the Chiefs wherever. I think,
man, that would be embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. The Chiefs.
No, I mean they own you though. I mean they already own you. You gotta win it at some point.
I mean they.
I know.
I mean the Chiefs have gone. They've won it. You know they just.
I'm talking about the Bengals just owning your ass. What's it? 3 in a row now?
It's up there. It sounds about right. But yeah,
piece combo, man.
Yeah,
it's rough, man. I appreciate you for coming through, dude. Good to get to talk to you. It's an exciting off season and a lot going on. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to get in? We can talk throughout the off season. I just didn't know. Is there anything draft?
No, man. I think we hit on a lot of stuff. I'm sure stuff's gonna come up when as they go through this coaching search. It'll be interesting to see how quickly the dominoes fall. I think D'Amico's slow playing things because he's focused on trying to win.
Task at hand.
Right, which is, hey, that's what you want. You want your guy to be about ball, and that's it. He worry about himself later. He's an unselfish guy, man. He's about his team, about his guys. And then wherever he goes, hopefully it's here, he's going to be about those guys. So we'll see what shakes out. But I'm not getting my hopes up because I got my hopes up the last couple of years because I knew he was available and he could have been had. We could have went through some of these growing pains with D'Amico Ryans as a coach, right? But it would have been a lot better situation going over there to NRG. It would have been a lot better situation. You know, it's rough sometimes going over there. The Texans have done a lot of things to ingratiate themselves back with the fan base, but it's a gut punch when you pull up and the tailgate ain't packed. Remind you now, back, quote unquote, back in my day, you pull up on Main Street, it's traffic. There's no traffic on Main on your way to the game. There's no traffic. You don't know.
No. You can get right out of there, man.
You pull up in the parking lot, there's nobody there. And the tailgate used to be, and I think
live.
It would have been live, 2 years ago. But hey, I guess the best things come to those who wait. Whoever they're gonna pick this go around, the way it's looking with the fathers who they're interviewing, Texans fans are gonna be excited about them. They're gonna be excited about a New York young quarterback or a new quarterback. So you need to get the people back out there. The tailgate here is the best I've seen when it's what it used to be. Even when the team was 6-10, 8-8, 11-5, whatever it might be, the tailgate was off the chain. And the vibe was, it was a packed house. You got to get back to that sooner than later.
Yeah, you got to, man. And that was why I thought the number one pick was so important, because you basically own the NFL for 3 months when you have that number one pick. Like it's just there. And I know that it can work out fine and stuff can work out, but with that extra element that you're talking about, that was more so why I was so pissed off, on top of just the possibility of Bryce Young not being there. But I'm with you, man. The vibe that there is no traffic. There's none.
None. And it's like what's going on? Then half the crowd, if not more than half the crowd, is other teams. Just
Andy Reid shouted out the fans at his post-game press conference this year.
Bro, never seen anything like it, but I'm looking forward to that changing. I'm looking forward to them, with the tweaks with the different apparel and jerseys and all the stuff they got going on.
You see it right here. Everyone keeps asking the uniforms. There's no uniform. Like, they didn't show us any uniforms, but this color scheme maybe.
Yeah.
Not just blue, but the logo ain't going nowhere though. I don't think the logo would go anywhere. They're not just going to have Oiler uniforms, but maybe see some more merch and stuff like that. So
yeah, they got stuff to where, and mind you, the Texan stuff, the OG stuff, has been good from the jump. But some of the stuff they got you wearing now,
bro, y'all's uniforms were whack.
They're not whack.
Come on, I know you got the helmets right above you. You ain't rocking, huh?
Nothing whack about it at all.
Come on, man. Those uniforms at this point, the fact they haven't been changed at all, there's not even a throwback. Those uniforms have gotten pretty whack.
You went from those jerseys were whack, which they weren't.
They're mad. They're mad. What are they a top 20 uniform?
I don't know. I have to do it.
Hell no.
I don't know. Good. My point is this:
top 25.
The stuff they're putting out now, you don't have to be a Texans fan to want to rock.
That was my point. You ain't wearing that bull hat to the club.
The what?
You ain't wearing a hat with that bull, that navy blue bull. I'm pointing to your helmet. You ain't wearing that to the club. Yeah,
I mean, we don't wear issue gear to the club.
I'm not talking issued. I'm just talking about something by lids.
I've seen people out and about with that on plenty of times. But
who?
Like that
in college?
Huh?
Not like in the pros rocking their issued gear out?
Yeah. No, not issued, like fans. People that are just normal people being out in the club and having that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Representing their team or whatever. But my point is that like that stuff, the look of it is like putting on some Raiders gear. Like anybody Raiders gear just because it's dope. You know what I mean?
Were you at the meeting?
No, I missed it.
What you're saying right now was exactly a part of the presentation. Like literally like you could almost be a marketer. It was a whole presentation from Doug, and what you just said was kind of along. It was one of the bullet points, 100%.
And that's listen. It's factual with what they actually did because like. They give us stuff and it's in my closet right now. And that's stuff that
and people say, where do you get that? Where can I get that? Where can I get it?
Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw that on. It got H-Town on it. The font that they use is dope, bro. So yeah, we're gonna rock it. And so to me, that's like the silver lining of all this foolery that's gotten us to this point where it's like, man, we need to figure out ways to like re-engage with our fans. And so they've been doing a lot of things to that extent. Not just jerseys, but just giving back to the community, the McNairs, like being more interactive with the fans and stuff. That stuff is, I've had people walk up to me and be like, yeah, I appreciate, I just got through talking to Cal and da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, that's what's up, man. He's like, man, he just seemed like a normal guy and everything was cool. And I'm like, yeah, he is, man. And so that's good that it's not good that they had
that it got to this
decisions to get to that point. But now that, you're at the point now, okay, let's start to turn the corner. Now you're going to turn the corner, but then you also going to be fresh when you do it.
Speaking of fresh, do you still have your Letterman jacket?
I do.
Where?
Right there.
Hey, let me wear that one time.
I will not let you wear it.
One time.
Bro, so listen.
Let me wear it one time. Let me wear it draft day.
I'm going to be honest with you.
I will protect it with my life. Let me wear the Letterman jacket just draft day.
Okay, Landry. You're from Texas. You're from the great state of Texas. The only person that can wear your Letterman jacket is your girl, your mom, your kid.
Hey,
not your boy. There
are not many legendary jackets like that, though.
Yeah, but I tell you what, my younger sister, not my youngest sister, but my younger sister came to a Texans game earlier this year, and she was like, I want to wear this Letterman jacket there. And I was like, nah, don't do that because I'm not going to be there with you. Like, I'm doing an appearance.
Yeah.
I don't want nobody yelling. I don't have to go slap nobody because
those things were actually pretty clean.
Bro.
I know y'all got your ass kicked, but those were pretty clean.
They are. It would have been, people are doing Letterman jackets now. They doing them now. It would have been the trend 10 years ago if we would have played better. We tricked that off. So now
y'all ruined it, man.
Yeah, we tricked it off, bro. It is what it is.
Yeah,
gotta play better.
All right, man. I appreciate you very much. Gave me a lot of your time. Hopefully on the air with us pretty soon, man. And if I say something stupid, keep letting me know. Keep holding me accountable, sir.
I will do, and it's always real, fellas.
There you go. That's Wade Smith, former Texan offensive lineman, Pro Bowler, Letterman jacket owner. Man, I want to rock that thing. I might go jack that where he stays. I'm going to go get that. People are asking about the uniform thing. I got a shirt and a hat from there. It kind of give you a little bit of a taste, just kind of what the colors that they were throwing out there, because this is public. There was no, I promise you, they didn't show us the uniforms and say, hey, keep this a secret. It's like a whole process. We probably won't see those for a while, but I'll just show you the color scheme so you can get some sort of vibe real quick. So this is the shirt that they gave us. It's kind of the H shirt. Got a little Texas flavor. H-Town on the back. I think that's the kind of merch they're gonna, shift to in the next year or so. And then you have this hat, which you have the logo on the side. You have that and that. So maybe just envision like all those colors, but I don't think the logo is going to go anywhere. The logo's straight. It just needs a little flavor. We need some of this because I do think this is something you can rock. But yeah, so that's just a little preview. The blue, the red. That I don't know if that's like what we're going towards, but I think there will be some changes. I think you'll be excited about these new uniforms because I don't care what Wade says. I don't know if it's top 25 uni. Some of you might disagree. Special place in the heart, but I just don't know. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video, please. Cap was talking yesterday about algorithms and stuff. I guess it helps. I don't even know what that is. But subscribe, spread, keep the comments coming. Hit me up at Landry Locker on Twitter. I reply 99.9% of the time. And keep riding with me this offseason, no matter what happens. By the way, Cal McNair, first segment tomorrow. Cal McNair is going to be there. Hannah's going to be there too. You get ugly. I'm just kidding. I am intrigued, though, to hear what Cal's got to say. We'll ask him about some of these changes, some, why the changes needed to be made, etc. So fire up the Odyssey app. Cal's going to be on 10 a.m. TYBNC asking 10 a.m. So we will get that going. Subscribe, spread. Appreciate you at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram. Appreciate Smitty for coming through. Someone says the algorithm in Cap's brain hooked up to YouTube like a matrix. No doubt. But yeah, no matter what, we are all in this together. Appreciate you.